likewise. And that refers to the corporal works of mercy. We are all commanded to perform the corporal works of mercy. And in Matthew chapter 25, the account of the Last Judgment, remember that our sentencing depends upon whether or not we have performed the corporal works of mercy. Now, of course, that's not the only or even the principal basis upon which we shall be sentenced on the judgment day. But it is certainly one of the essential commands of our Lord, and we shall be judged according as we have performed or failed to perform the corporal works of mercy. So vade et voxe militer, go and do thou likewise. In other words, do what the Good Samaritan did. The other lesson here is that the notion of neighbor is extended beyond those whom we like, beyond those who are our kinsfolk, or those who are our fellow countrymen. Because the man who helped the person thrown among thieves was a Samaritan. And the Samaritans had a particular hatred for the Jews, and the Jews had a particular hatred for the Samaritans because of differences in the way in which they worshiped God. They came from the same tradition, but they worshiped God in different ways. And so, by making the point that the Samaritan helped the man who fell among thieves, while two Jews, one of whom was a priest, saw the man wounded and simply passed by him, by making that point about the Samaritan, Jesus teaches us that our neighbor is to be understood in a very extensive way. All men are our neighbors. All those who need our help are our neighbors. So it's that concept of neighbor. Those are the two basic lessons in that gospel. And of course, the young man, or the man, I don't know if he's young or not, who came up to Jesus was trying to get Jesus into trouble because he was tempting him. You find that with the Jews all the time. When they ask Jesus questions, very often they're not asking the questions with goodwill. They're asking the questions in order to somehow get Jesus to say something that will aggravate somebody. Remember that famous thing about the denarius given to Caesar. The people who came up, the Jews who came up to Jesus to ask him, what should we give to Caesar? Should we give this to Caesar or not? They were trying to get Jesus to say, don't give it to Caesar, which would, of course, have angered the Romans, or do give it to Caesar, which would have angered the Jews who didn't want to pay taxes. But I want to get back to what I had said before. I said that what distinguishes human nature from all other material, living, sentient things, what distinguishes man from every material, living, sentient being with sense powers, there's something that distinguishes man and separates him utterly and definitively from all the animals, the lower animals. And that something, those powers, those gifts, those faculties that separate man from every other material creature in the universe are the powers of intellect and will. So man is actually defined by the powers of intellect and will. Let me explain a little bit more. The genus is the general class of anything. The genus to which man belongs is the genus of animal, insofar as man is material, living, and has sense powers. But the species to which anything belongs is constituted by whatever it is that definitively distinguishes or differentiates or separates that class from every other class. So, and we call whatever it is that separates and distinguishes something from every other class, we call that the difference. And so the genus plus the difference equals the species. So man is animal in his genus. The difference is intellect and will. So what constitutes man as a unique species among all material things is the difference, his intellect and will. Now, that is what makes man to be man. So man is a material, living, sentient, rational intellectual creature. And it's rational intellectual that makes man different. And that's what makes man to be man, constitutes man as a person. The lower animals, dogs excepted, of course, are not persons. They function not by way of intellectual knowledge, but by way of instinct. It's generally thought. Nobody has misproved that so far. And in terms of their appetite, they function by way of what we call the vis estimativa, which enables them to identify things as harmful or beneficial. But man operates on the level of intellectual knowledge. Man can form ideas. He can conceive ideas. He can make judgments. And he can put the judgments together into reasonings, various forms of reasoning. These things the animals cannot do. And man has the power to deliberately choose among many different goods which good he will seek. The animals do not have the power to do this. They act on the basis of instinct, so far as is known now. So, in anything, its goal or its purpose is defined on the basis of whatever it is that makes that thing unique and that constitutes that thing in its species, in its unique kind, in its special kind. So, what are the two powers that constitute man as absolutely unique among material beings? They are intellect and will. Therefore, the goal, the purpose of man, the reason why man exists is going to be the goal of the intellect and the goal of the will. So, whatever is the end, the purpose of intellectual knowledge, of the exercise of intellectual activity, that is going to be the end or the purpose of man. Whatever is the goal of the will, whatever it is that the will ultimately seeks, that is going to be the purpose of man. Now, what the will is the function that seeks, that knows truth, not seeks. The will is the function that knows truth. So the ultimate goal of the human, I'm sorry, I got that. The intellect is the power that knows the truth. And the ultimate goal of the intellect is to know the ultimate truth. The will is the power that seeks that which is good, beneficial, that which enhances our being. So the ultimate goal of the will is going to be the ultimate good, that good which fully realizes and completes us in every way, shape, and form. So the end of man then is to know by his intellect the ultimate truth, and to know by his or to sorry, and to possess by his will that which is the ultimate good. But of course, what is the ultimate truth? God is the ultimate truth. And who is the ultimate good? Goodness itself. God. God is truth itself, being itself, the whole infinite reality of truth. God is the ultimate good. He's the summum bonum, the highest good. God is goodness itself, simply and absolutely. So the end or the purpose of man, even without divine revelation, is to possess the ultimate truth and to possess the ultimate good. So, human nature then is distinguished by the powers of intellect and will. That differentiates man and puts him into his own species, the human species, the human person. The powers that differentiate man from every other material thing are the powers of intellect and will. Those are the powers that differentiate man and place him in his own unique species as human person. Now, the goal and the purpose of man is going to be, I'm repeating deliberately, the goal and the purpose of man is going to be to fulfill completely and entirely the exigencies of the intellect and of the will. So the goal of the intellect is the goal of the whole man. The goal of the will is the goal of the whole man. But the goal of the intellect is to know ultimate truth. The goal of the will is to possess ultimate good. But ultimate truth is God. Ultimate good is God. Therefore, we can conclude on the basis of our examination of human nature that man is intrinsically and necessarily, irreversibly, and inevitably intended to know and to possess God. Or we can just say it the way the Catechism says it. Why did God make us? To know, love, and serve Him in this life, that we might be happy with Him forever in the life to come. So that is the basic point of ethics. Whatever advances man towards the knowledge of the ultimate truth is going to be morally good. Whatever deters man, blocks man, prevents man from the attainment of ultimate truth will be evil. In a similar way, whatever advances man towards the possession of the ultimate good will be morally good for man. Whatever impedes man's advance towards the ultimate good or leads man away from the ultimate good will be morally evil for man. And so we come to the first basic principle, I shouldn't say the first axiom of the natural law. Bonum faciendum est mala vitandum est, the good, namely that which advances us towards God, must be done. That which is evil, that which takes us away from God, must be avoided. That's all we do today.